Hi, everybody. We're burning the midnight oil again. Just can't be helped because so much to do because of amazing things happening. So let's see if I'm on. Thank you. A lot of, yes, I can hear. Okay. So let's start. 1,629 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss, and by what evidence is pointing to now, that it was in the arms room. The arms room is, that's a fancy name. It's a basement room. It's a basement and in the building where Richard lived. It's a basement room where they keep their weapons and their ammunition. And it is, it's kind of like soundproof because it's pretty thick. It's a basement. So, and, it should be a secure area. We know that the prime suspects um, is, are those that are internal. Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart. He is a prime suspect of the prime suspects. Does he have access? Would he have access to the basement room? That should be secure. Yes, he would. He would have total access to it. He's the platoon leader. Um, was Captain David Park up to no good? Absolutely. We have all kinds of proof against Captain Park. Would he have access? Yes. Um, would First Sergeant Jay Paulin have access when he was First Sergeant? Yes. Afterwards, with his connections, yeah, interesting. Would Jonathan Caleb Ambrose have access? That's yeah, that would be interesting, right? That would be interesting. And our information that we're getting is that Jonathan is being targeted. Why is he being targeted? The crimes that he does, are they trying to discredit him? Are they trying to make him into a criminal? I mean, is he a criminal, but is he a criminal against them? I don't know, because the word that we're getting is loose lips for them. And what is that meaning? That gosh. Anyway, Danae Katzen is married to Jonathan Ambrose. We know Jonathan Ambrose is 143, and there's a lot going on with that, and the information that we're getting. And then also Michael Ruggiero, First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero, the no ma'am, I don't want to talk to you, First Sergeant. Um, yeah, and absolutely up to no good. Absolutely getting, having um mm, man, access to the basement room. Absolutely. And is he a prime suspect? Yes, he is. And, of course, Lilani Hart, Dallas Hart's mother, and Tavita Nusa, that's confirmed prime suspects in the murder of Richard. CID agent Tavita Nusa, would he have access to the basement room, called the arms room in Richard's building? Yes. And, then is there something funny going on in the basement room with the seal on the door, the seal number on the door? Absolutely. And a red seal is a crime scene, right? You can have different colored seals for different things, right? A red seal is a crime scene, is, evidence, preserving evidence. Um, so, would the number tell us things? Oh, yeah, the number would tell us things. Is there any denying the number? No, it's right there on the door. Um, it's right there on the door, y'all. It's right there on the door. The seal with the number is right there on the door. So let's hear it. Let's hear what the log says. Let's hear what are they going to give us a true log or another log, right? Is there going to be two logs, like two CID cases? It seems like it. It seems like there is. And it's interesting because being a homeschool mom, you end up teaching yourself, right? You end up teaching yourself. You end up doing extra reading, extra studying, learning material and everything. And one of those was Columbus, Columbus Day, Columbus. And, Washington Irving wrote a 4-volume book on Columbus, Christopher Columbus. And, it's very interesting because he was ambassador to Spain when they released the logs and the journals, the diaries, the writings on Christopher Columbus. And so, if you want absolutely, it's interesting because when I looked it up, Wiki calls it fictional. Um, I don't think Wiki can be trusted. I don't think Wiki can be trusted. Because the 4 volumes on Christopher Columbus and his voyages, maybe they don't want you to take it seriously, right? What he has to say. And one of the things that he has to say, that he had to say, is that he kept 2 logs. He kept a log for his crew, for the public, for the crew, um, and then he kept a log uh, for himself, personal log, and would have more sensitive information in it about the voyages and about what they came across and everything. And we know, um, yeah, I don't want to go into it, but it really implicates, the whole story with Christopher Columbus is so worth learning about. And I would highly recommend you reading the 4 volumes by Washington Irving on Christopher Columbus. You can get it for free. Um, and it just teaches you so much, so much. And in this case, and in Richard's case, I've gleaned from that. Our family has gleaned from that. And it is not unusual if you're trying to hide certain information to keep 2 logs, to have 2 case files, um, to have 2 diaries, to have 2 histories, to have, one for the public, one to manipulate the public, one to give a false narrative, one to leak. And that's what they did with Richard's CID file that was given to us. They leaked it. They leaked it to the public, even though you know, um, we knew that there was misinformation in there. There was information that was not even in there that they did not cover. It was very incomplete. Um, and so, we knew um, that there was tampering going on in the case. And that's the log, the misinformation, the incomplete log that they gave to the public. Okay. And now with the new information coming out, the arms room information coming out, the numbers coming out. That has led us to a second, uh, you know, um, obviously, obviously, we have to say seemingly, apparently, obviously, seemingly, apparently, there is a second log. There is a second case. There is things being hidden, um, a second case file. Uh, um, obviously, because Richard has been declared murdered on Fort Bliss. Obviously, seemingly, they have his remains. Obviously, seemingly, they have it documented. Obviously, they have it documented in a second case file. Seemingly, apparently, they have that. And, allegedly, they were up to no good. And they were covering the rear ends of very corrupt, treasonous um, criminals that wear the uniform, that wear our uniform, that wear a uniform, that wear a badge, that work for us because they work for us. We pay their wages. And yet they are traitors. And obviously, they're traitors, and obviously, and seemingly, and allegedly, um, there has been an internal attempt to cover up the whistleblowing and murder cases of our son, Richard Halliday. And obviously, apparently, seemingly, to erase, to cover up the fact that the MAGA judge, which I've been working on some things, the MAGA judge was there all along, and in January of 2022, filed in his official capacity, called us up. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget. I was right in front of the hospital where my dad was. It was a snowy day like today. It was snowy. It was cold. And January of 2022, and he called the hotline, and I answered, and he identified key suspects in our son's case and notified us that he had filed a whistleblower report to multiple agencies in his official capacity, confirming that our son's case had been tampered with, that our son's case was being intentionally interfered with, and named Leilani Hart and CID agent Tavita Nusa. I wrote their names down for the first time on a napkin sitting in my vehicle. Not expecting what this phone call. And we're very, very grateful for that, because our investigation has moved forward from that day, because Leilani Hart has her hands in everything in this case, and extending into the Walmart case and Bliss Avenue, and with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, and with others, with the horses, with the dances, with the LLCs, with the security, with her different jobs, and interference everywhere. She has exposed this case. If anyone oh, wants to know how this case was exposed, how this murder case was exposed. Uh, just look at Leilani Hart. She has exposed her family through the bragging, through her parading around of CID to Vita Nusa. She was very confident that nothing could touch her. And it exposed the FBI, it exposed the cartel, it exposed Fort Bliss, it exposed the connection with the hundreds of thousands of children being trafficked through Fort Bliss and now are mostly dead. She has a heart child child care. Oh, well, really, it's James Courtney Hart. She exposed the connection with the Veterans Administration, IDES, Pueblo. She exposed that her family was, and we have lots of documents on this because she's not silent about this. She's very, very confident that she can commit crimes. She's a convicted criminal with impunity. And so she brags about it. So she's proud of her criminal nature, hurting people. And it goes back before Richard was even born, before Richard was even born. And, this kind of criminal, criminal culture that is, her nature, um, has exposed because of all the evidence that she has left, exposed the FBI, exposed the CID, exposed um, the cover up, the absolute murder, the whistleblowing, the murder, the cover up, because, of her connection with the Mormons, with Danae Katzen, with Belen Rocha, like I said, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, with the jet port, Santa Teresa, um, you know, absolutely connecting her son, the for Richard's platoon leader, um, to Richard's unit to the Walmart mass shooting, right? And all the fraud and even immigration fraud, right? To the immigration fraud, and which has led to, okay, all of this, and we're getting harassed and we're getting threatened, and they even went as far as to make death threats, and so we're going to file that, right? And then that exposed Bill Hicks and exposed Bob Moore. Bob Moore used Leilani Hart. Now he used Dallas Hart. It exposed him, right? And this is, I put in about the California fires, and I think I forgot to talk about them last night because so much is going on. But the California fires, thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Danielle. You can just compare it so much, their criminal nature, their agenda to feed off of the good nature of the American people, through the fire department, through all the funds, through the federal funding. If there's a disaster, it's like, let's not do our job because we can just funnel the money where we want instead of protecting the land and the people from fires, right? By clearing the brush, by making sure all the water is working properly, by making sure that there is water to go through the fire hydrants, that there are fire hydrants there, because they even shut down the fire hydrants and sold them off, cut them down, sold them off for scrap. These are the reports coming out, the absolute criminal activity of these criminals that, we're like, okay, well, if a fire happens, and we'll just go to the federal government and they'll fund us. And of course we will. Of course we will, because not because of their sake, but because of the people that have lost their homes, that have had to become victims of these criminals. And so the answer to it is to hold these criminals accountable. And I heard that there is some firings, but the firings need to end up to be prosecutions, right? Prosecutions, absolutely, for their negligence, for their criminal activities. And so you can compare it very much so to the FBI in this case, where Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. Received the whistleblower complaint from Judge Roger Rodriguez and failed to, leaked it to Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa, the very criminals, putting Judge Roger Rodriguez in danger. Um, so there's so much behind the scenes, y'all. And when we, through all of our time doing this, it's been very time consuming to go through and get all the open records and to, um, uh, you know, dot put the dots together to understand that Jesus Nieto, the FBI, that is supposed to be combating criminality, is supporting the very criminals that are being reported. So, he needs to be prosecuted. And the same thing with Tavita Nusa, the same thing with Sean Bernabe, because Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe also received in January of 2022 the whistleblower in his official capacity. That means as a judge of the interference with Richard's case, naming prime suspects in the murder of Richard, hurting Richard, to the commander of Fort Bliss, Sean Bernabe, at the time. So criminal, absolutely criminal. So obviously, seemingly, allegedly, apparently, there are two CID file reports. Otherwise, what are they doing? Of course, they're documenting the true events in this case. Of course, they are. Because they want to control it. They want to control the narrative, but they have to make an imposter. They're all about being, impersonating and being imposters. You have Bill Hicks, the imposter, the usurper. He needs to be prosecuted. They just do that kind of criminal activity and then walk away and hope to get appointed to another position or usurp another position or whatever. I mean, he has bills to pay, right? And so all he thinks about is himself. He doesn't think about the damage he's doing to El Paso, the damage he's doing to Fort Bliss, the damage he's doing to the border, the damage he's doing to our country, right? The damage he has done to hundreds of cases, including the Walmart mass shooting case, including Richard Halliday's case. And I'm sure the Glennon Oakley Jr. case. What did they do with that? There's just there's so much damage here. It's like the California fires, but it's judicial damage, right? It's judicial damage, messing with people's lives. And you can't do a aerial flyover over the damage that the likes of Bill Hicks, the likes of Jesus Eddie Nieto has done, the likes of Sean Bernabe has done to the lives of individuals. And if you could do it, it would be like the whole burnt up California Palisades, right? That's what it would look like. That's what Bill Hicks has done. That's what Jaime Esparza did. That's what Sean Bernabe did. That's what James Eisenhower did, the other commander, now Curtis Taylor. And of course, all under Michael, well, he's retired now too. They just retire when it gets, and look, we just got a new, just suddenly when we said, look, what is your connection with Bob Moore CID Todd Howell. What is your connection? And then all of a sudden, like, oh, we've got to assign you a new person. Um, because it's been all exposed. Thanks be to God for our system, our those that are internal that do care about our country, that are giving us institutional support, are giving us Sephoyas to connect these dots, are giving us these videos, are giving us the numbers, information, the logs, and it really is very, very clear that there are two separate case files, seemingly apparently. Um, and in my mind, there's no doubt about it at all, because of the evidence. The evidence absolutely declares that there is a law, two files, one for public consumption that is misleading and missing information, and then another, um, or even with false information, right? What about finding Richard's remains? What about um, in naming prime suspects in the murder? What about the sealed basement room, right? And what about the illegal order to renovate the room? Uh, why? Why do you have to renovate an arms room, right? You just put your weapons in there. There's just lockers in there. Um, so this is, and they, looking at the buildings, they don't like to renovate too often. No, no, even though we give trillions of dollars and the uh, soldiers should have the most modern, walking on at least silver sidewalks, with the kind of money that we give, even creating different equipment and weapons, but that doesn't seem to help because we lose everything. We've lost every battle, right? When it comes to Afghanistan, when it comes to, the Middle East, Iran, just like, oh, we have to leave with our tail between our legs and leaving the equipment there. Wink, wink, wink. We leave it there, but it seems like someone's patting their pockets. Um, and yeah, it's the corruption is absolutely out there to see, and I think it's very obvious with the California fires this time, and their care for some kind of social agenda over what their job requires. If their job was to develop a social agenda, okay, then go for it, right? But that's not what their job is. Their job is to stop fires. Their job is to prevent fires, right? That's what their job is. And you need water to prevent fires, right? Or to put out fires. And so playing politics with people's lives is not acceptable. And there needs to be prosecution. And with the Walmart case and with Richard's case, they were playing politics and they were also covering up to save their jobs that they are traitors to, because they're traitors to defending the Constitution, which is the rule of law. And these are lawless individuals, absolutely lawless. And and I don't wish, but it would be interesting to have a flyover of the damage that they have done, because it's so revealing. It's so, it really is a wake up call. It's a red pill. It's a red pill. And what they've done in Richard's case and in El Paso and in Fort Bliss, and allowing the cartel to infiltrate them and to recruit, and allowing the cartel to recruit within even the military, and to make life miserable on Fort Bliss on purpose. Let's make their life miserable. Let's harass them. Let's threaten them. Everything like that, and then let's order a mental health evaluation, and then they were all shaking in front of us. They all needed a mental health evaluation because that is what controls. That is what controls them to be silenced. That is how they silence. They absolutely blackmail. They absolute. There's not a doubt in my mind that they use bribes or blackmail or orders and just miserable. Um, and I would really, in all of this, what needs to be investigated, or who does this? Who's that William Beaumont doing these psychological evaluations? Who's in charge of that with the Veterans Administration and all this IDES and Pablo, and if they're friends with James Courtney Hart, well, you need a shutter. You need a shutter and you need to run. You need to run the other direction, right? Because something's going to be stinky, something is going to be up to no good, something is going to be detrimental to your health, to your mental health, to your physical health, and of course, this is part of their plan, because if you become a whistleblower, they can always say, oh, that person didn't have good mental health. I want to tell everyone right now, Richard had excellent mental health, excellent mental health. But when you're under retaliation, when you're 20 years old, 18, 20 years old, in that time frame, and you are under severe retaliation where they're even using their powers to levy even the um, tools in the military against you as a whistleblower. And then all the harassment and everything, you can't be happy and smiling during that time when you're being retaliated against, can you now? And, they just, where do you go when they're threatening you? And we know that the JAG threatened because they told us in a meeting they threatened him. And so, it goes, when you even have Clem Coward, the general, abusing his power and being caught abusing the power and using the courts to abuse Penny Hamilton, an imposter that was impersonating a judge illegally, uh, being up to no good. And Richard came out sparkling clean, which is amazing, which is really amazing because we're all human, right? And when you're under that kind of pressure, and when you're being pulled and pushed and being abused by powers, even a wicked impersonator as a judge has power. Because, and then she goes off and works for Bill Hicks. So do you wonder who's giving power? The usurper? And then to know that, where's Richard's remains? Surely they couldn't cover that up. And then you have the chief medical examiner being illegal and connected to Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue. My goodness, it's like, okay, well, they have obviously, seemingly they have two CID files, because if we figured this out, and of course it took us a while, right? Um, and thanks be to God, it all started in January of 2022 with the MAGA judge. The MAGA judge, the coordinator for terrorist and Homeland Security program on Fort Bliss, Judge Roger Rodriguez, and his bravery. I mean, we were figuring things out a little before that with Nadal Baim and Danae Katzen and all of that. But when Leilani Hart came into the picture, when she was named in the CID, Tavita Nusa came into the picture. Oh my goodness, that just that put together a lot of dots for us, and we went from there. We went from there patiently. Um, and now with these seals, the security seal, the red security seal on the basement door of Richard's building being the crime scene, being the crime scene, because a red security seal is a crime scene. And then the general ordering an illegal renovation of the crime scene, of the crime scene. That's what's going on. Because you have a red seal on a door, and no one can deny that. That's a crime scene. And you have the illegal order of the renovation of a crime scene with open purse. Why would they do that? And we have DES Thomas Kane absolutely corroborating that information. The director of emergency services for Fort Bliss, the Fort Bliss security man, Fort Bliss. And that this is just one little uh, uh, piece of the pie of Richard's case. Now let that get out. And, when you have a number, which we do, the seal has a number on it, then that leads to other numbers. And that's connected to other numbers. And, obviously, there are seemingly, allegedly, 2 CID files on Richard. There might be more. So, it just, you're not allowed to get angry. You're not allowed to mourn or grieve and, it's just absolutely insanity. We desire prosecution. We desire prosecution. And unlike, it was amazing. And was it today already? So much has happened. Today, they did that sentencing on Trump. Nothing burger, a nothing burger. How can that happen? They were absolutely, putting the narrative out there that he was committing a crime so bad that it deserved the death penalty. Really, that is, and that's been corroborated by the news I heard today. And we were absolutely seeing that happen, right? We were witnesses. We were all witnesses to the collusion between New York and the media to put out a false narrative that there were 2 truths, 2 logs, 2 case files, 2 truths, a wicked false truth narrative that they tried to pass over to the people, that it was so bad that it's so bad it's deserving of a death penalty or an equivalent of a death penalty, because I don't think New York has death penalty. But that's what they were saying. But then when it comes down to it, there's such a nothing burger there that they say, oh, the sentencing is a nothing burger. Go away. Nothing. It's a nothing. It's a nothing. But at least we've put who said it, who described it well, the scarlet letter. At least we put a scarlet letter, what a big S for Superman, because Trump is like Superman now, right? A big red S across his chest, Superman. And of course, we all saw it, we all witnessed it, and in our case, knowing about the Walmart mass shooting case, knowing that it absolutely was orchestrated and they absolutely can't let it go to court because the evidence would prove it. And we have evidence, we have the recordings of Joe Spencer, the actual recordings of his saying. We released uh, um, excerpts of it. Um, and him lying to the federal court and to the people, I mean, it's just the Walmart mass shooting was, you know, orchestrated, in our opinion, seemingly, apparently, to divert resources and attention from the crimes that were being actually committed in El Paso on Fort Bliss, and some of those were what Richard was exposing. And then they took it, and Veronica Escobar, she's like, Beto O'Rourke and Ernest Christopher Grant, and um, they're all impersonating, and, um, you know, gosh, but Veronica Escobar, put forth her false narrative, refused to even meet with President Trump. It was absolutely an attack on MAGA and President Trump. That's what I'm saying. Clearly, it was election interference. Clearly, it was a harassment and threats and everything that on a much grander scale, on a huge grand scale. That's what they did to President Trump. And now, they've put a big S on his chest for Superman because he's back. He's back. And it's just like the most badass thing you've ever seen in your life. That's what uh, Facebook, uh, husband of Chan, um, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Mark Zuckerberg said, and in that point, I agreed with him. Um, it's it is a good day for us. It really is. And it is so difficult. It the emotions are. I just can't even describe them for you because to see justice come in this case is, breathtaking. It's breathtaking because of what has been involved in all of this and the level of involvement, and to know that it is connected with this big attack on Trump, and this murderous attack on Richard because he was doing the right thing. And it's to think of all the cover up and the results of that, just one of the results of that, like in California fires, you have all these amazing structures burning down, right? You just have this, it's just ash. And in this case, it is hundreds of thousands of children that have been trafficked through Fort Bliss and are now mostly dead. I mean, that's just one aspect. And I'm sure that's what people are talking about in California. It's not just the loss of the property, the homes and the other structures, right? The other structures that probably some of them were ancient. It's because, that whole area is just another whole story, right? The whole San Francisco area, the Los Angeles area, it's just a whole nother story behind it. But um, it's, so the loss is brings emotions that are overwhelming, and to be able to know that we can say we desire prosecution and that be absolutely in our grips for realization is a happy day. A happy day. Think about these judges that were, after, this whole attorney general, the whole judicial system in New York, um, after President Trump. And, and then you have the border that they just want to carry on this criminality with impunity, um, because all they care about is lining their pocket, not the harm that they're doing, the ash that they leave in their wake, and and to see them get prosecuted will be a very happy day for us. And they were wanting like a death penalty for President Trump, and the law is a beautiful thing. The law is a beautiful thing, y'all. It's the people that the criminals that need to be prosecuted, and never doubt the defense of the Constitution. Never doubt that. It's such a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful. Um, and I hear that they want to change one of the gates, the Constitution Gate, to the Reyes Gate or something like that at Fort Bliss. No way. You gotta love the Constitution. The Constitution raised, whatever the other person, find a different gate, find a different chair to name to, but the Constitution Gate, and it's just another another red flag that tells you that they're up to no good, because the Constitution is a beautiful thing. And, Trump has absolutely uh, announced that he will seek out the death penalty for these criminals. So, in Richard's case, in the federal jurisdiction and in Texas, the state jurisdiction, we are seeking the death penalty for these criminals, the death penalty. And we've been very patient. So it's but we have enough. We have more than enough that we can absolutely feel confident that these crimes are so egregious, so egregious, that we need to. We would be bad people. We would be bad people if we didn't seek the death penalty for these criminals. We would be shameful if we didn't seek the death penalty for these egregious crimes. Absolutely. Think about the environment in California, what they've done. Think about the animals that they say they care about, that they don't, that have died. Think about the people. Think about the property. Think about the economy, the damage that they have done. And this, and it's, you can see it because you can see the ash. But there are ashes in El Paso as well. There are ashes on Fort Bliss as well. And we would be very negligent to not seek the death penalty for these criminals that have done this to El Paso, to Fort Bliss, and in our case, to our son. To our son. So, thank you so much for and we will try to give you more information on the security seal number, and the there are people that are up to no good listening, so I have to be very careful. Otherwise, I'd give it all, and to the CID number. So thank you so much. God bless you, and please share. Please share, because that's That is so, so powerful. I never realized how powerful it was. But to share, that share button, that's that's it. That's the driving force. That's the force multiplier. So please share. God bless you and thank you so much. I'll be back